What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel. And yes, you are not being tricked. Under the Radar is back after about a 3 to 4 week hiatus, I guess, or a break in between. Well, I wouldn't say break or a hiatus. It was just because, well, April was kind of a quiet month for the most part in terms of releases. Aside from some big ones like Meshuggah and Destruction and the K2 that I covered this weekend. In terms of the underground stuff, there wasn't a whole lot that I could talk about in one video, and besides, if I had done an episode or two this month, it would have only had like 2 albums, maybe 3 at most, and I like to do at least 4 to kind of give you guys a more full-on episode, so to speak. Luckily, this week we got 4 albums that I did check out, and I'm going to give you my opinions on them right now, kicking things off with Kharon's Journey into the Abyssal Void. So this is a debut album from a one-man black metal project out of Greece, and this is the first go. Now, this opinion for this album is going to be a little bit short and sweet for the most part, but I was not the biggest fan of the mix on this album, for me personally. It's like the guitars, it's like here we are in 2022, and the guitars shouldn't really have like a staticky sound to it. We're past the days of old Dark Throne and Burzum, where it's like, oh, you must have really staticky guitars to be black metal. And also the drum tones on this album were almost non-existent. Well, mainly the snare I have a problem with. Like the snare drum sounds incredibly thin. It sounds like they were being struck with a pin rather than a drumstick. And also, pretty much my biggest gripe I have with this album is the vocals. Like, the vocals just sounded like a loud whisper, and it just did not work for me. Though the atmosphere on this album, it kind of gives off a bit of a horror vibe, which I do appreciate, and there are moments where songs will slow down a little bit, but even in like the slower section, like towards the end of the album, there's this one track, and I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but all it was just this like organ, like little bits of percussion. It was mainly an atmospheric track that went on for what seemed like forever. I get this is a one-man project and this is his first go-around, but at the same time, I was expecting a little bit more out of something like this, given it's a black metal project, and I do enjoy black metal. However, I have said it in the past, I am very picky when it comes to what kind of black metal I like, and this kind of black metal was just personally not for me, which is why I give this album a 6.5 out of 10. Hopefully, if this project continues, hopefully if we get another album, it'll be a lot better than this, but I guess you have to start somewhere in this realm of extreme music. But we'll see what happens from here on out with this project. But now moving on to some really good stuff, kicking things off on the really good sector, we get the new album from Skullfist titled Paid in Full. Of course, I believe this is the 4th studio album from this Toronto-based traditional metal / speed metal band. I've already heard about this band in the past thanks to my good buddy Daniel DK, who's also from Ontario, Canada, also playing an Exciter, pioneering speed metal band right there. So, I remembered first hearing the name Skullfist on Banger TV a long time ago. So I saw that they had a new album coming out, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to see what this band is all about, and I have to say, this is a fun album for the most part. Some of these riffs are very much classic metal-centric, like Judas Priest, little bit of Motorhead even, some Accept, of course some classic speed metal influence in there, like Exciter, and even a little bit of like early Razor, but with a cleaner production to it rather than the raw, gritty nature of Razor's music. So yeah, this was like a fun album in terms of like how these riffs were crafted. Like, they were one to take you back to the days of classic heavy metal and speed metal back in its infancy in the late 70s, early 80s, and bring it to the forefront in today's metal. But with the lyrics kind of a little bit corny, it's all about just partying and headbanging, headbutting, and stuff like that. Lyrics can be a little hokey, but it fits what this album's doing musically, and that's to make you enjoy yourself, have a good time, and just really rock out. And that's exactly what Paid in Full by Skullfist did. I give this one an 8 out of 10. I actually enjoyed this for the most part. I can't think of like any real bad song on here. It's just that, again, lyrics can be a little bit hokey. And also I kind of figured, also thought that the vocals were really interesting. And I had a comparison in my head when I was listening to the album, and it just slipped out of my head. And it pisses me off when that happens. But I digress. So if you're looking for a fun, rockin', classic metal, speed metal album, this could be right up your alley, and if you are a fan of Skullfist already, you will enjoy this one for damn sure. Moving on to album number 3 for this week's Under the Radar, we are talking about, I gotta remember how to pronounce this, Viridian Inferno. Nailed it. Viridian Inferno by Reaper. This is a debut album from an Australian black and thrash speed metal band, and right off the bat, I get some classic like proto first wave black metal feels. Like when I was doing my research for this band Reaper, the bands I saw them get compared to the most were Hellhammer and Bathory, particularly like first album Bathory for the most part. And as I was listening to this, I also heard a little bit of like the punk era of Darkthrone a little bit, especially in like the vocals kind of remind me of like that era of Darkthrone where it's very wild and weird, kind of like Panzerfaust and Total Death, like that era of Darkthrone in terms of the vocals, whereas in the music, I hear a little bit of that punk era of Darkthrone, but it's mostly Hellhammer and early Bathory centered. But there's a lot of like punky energy going on this album. When I was listening to it, there's a lot of punk fury going on here, and I think that kind of boils down to that speed metal factor. When it gets thrashy, it does get thrashy. When it gets punky and speedy, it gets punky and speedy. And there's even a couple of hints of like that Hellhammer and even a little bit of a Celtic Frost groove here and there on a couple of tracks. But this is some wild, fun, energetic, blackened thrash, speed metal, whatever you want to call it, from an Australian band, and also on Dying Victims Productions. And Dying Victims Productions have been pumping out some fun music this year. I mean, hell, Vicious Nights was on that label, and that was an amazing album. So for the score I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10. If you are a fan of blackened speed or blackened thrash metal, this is definitely going to be one you will want to check out, because it is energetic, it is furious, it's fun, it's evil, and very punky. So yeah, 8.5 out of 10. And now that brings us to the final album for this week's Under the Radar, and that is the new one from Corpsessed, Succumb to Rot. So I believe this is also the 4th studio album from this Finnish death metal band. So yeah, the first time I'm talking about real death metal in this episode. And we're talking about a heavy hitter from the modern Finnish scene. And going through, like, doing my research about this band to kind of see what they're all about and who they get compared to a lot. Of course, to like some of the classic Finnish death metal bands like Pertinence and Demigod and Convulse. But also when I was listening to this album, I got a lot of echoes of Incantation on this album. Like, it's very cavernous and very evil sounding, but it's very gross and disgusting. Like, there's some furious riffs that just scream grossness and disgust. The vocals are very putrid on this album. Not like in a brutal death metal sense, but in the more raw, energetic putridity that you get with these vocals out of Finnish death metal. At times it gets a little groovy, maybe even a couple of doomy bits here, but it's mostly all about unrelenting speed, like that cavernous atmosphere, that brutality, evil, gross. I don't name every adjective you could describe a death metal album, and that's what you get with Corpsessed. And I like how in the first half of the album, the songs were fairly short. There was one 5-minute plus track in the first half, and then you get into the second half, and the songs get longer and longer, and they put in more songwriting in there by incorporating more elements, like bringing in a little bit of groove, a little bit of doom, but also maintaining that fast, thrashy, blast beat sound that pretty much encompasses most of this album. This is another really good one that I like from this year in terms of death metal. And this one also on Dark Descent Records. And Dark Descent, you guys keep pumping out some damn good shit. I give this one a 9 out of 10. This is some really great finished death metal that has that incantation vibe. It's very evil, cavernous, gross. I mean, I know I'm repeating myself, but those are the best adjectives to describe this fucking monster. But of course, that's just my opinion on all these albums. What did you guys think of these albums, if you have listened to them already? If not, let me know in the comments section below. And also, I will have these albums in the description box for you guys to check out if you haven't already. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Horns high, and I will see you soon. Better go in hell. What? Oh my god! That was a fail! Oh my god! Fuck that! Oh my god, I am such an idiot! That was the dumbest thing I've ever done in this fucking game! Why? What was that? Was I colorblind for a second? What was that?